The Women by Kristin Hannah. War, Tears, and, Bubblegum. Author, Kristin Hannah. Queen of heart-melting historical fiction, aka the one who makes you buy shares of Kleenex. Book, The Women. A naive California girl named Frankie McGrath decides that being an army nurse in Vietnam sounds like a great adventure. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. The too long didn't read. Summary: beautiful blonde girl from Coronado Island, Southern California, feels like life is too normal. Brother is in the army in Vietnam? Great, I'm going too. She flew to Vietnam in 1967, saw hell on earth, made close friends, broke a few hearts, including her own, survived the war, and then returned to America to find the country in even more disarray than an emergency room. After years of struggling with PTSD and American discrimination against veterans, especially women veterans, because of course, she finally found acceptance and a Hollywood happy ending. Period. Summary: the journey. From beach to bedside. Look, Francis, Frankie. McGrath's life started out like a 60s sitcom. Super conservative parents, perfect brother, and she was on her way to becoming a Southern California lady, a beautiful, educated ornament who never used it. But then, boom, her brother Finley said, "Women can have, you can be a hero, Frankie." Enough. That was all she needed to hear. In short, it was a challenge from a man, and Frankie, in his American patriotic spirit, went straight to the recruiting office and said, "Give me a ticket to Vietnam, please." Part 1. Vietnam Tour. Hot, humid. Hell Frankie arrives in Vietnam, and suddenly Coronado Beach has transformed into a filthy, trauma-ridden military base. The newly graduated nurse is quickly thrown into what's called MASCAL, mass casualty, where blood, guts, and swearing become daily alarm bells. Imagine, you're fresh out of school, barely familiar with the hospital coffee machine, and you're faced with dying young soldiers. That's Frankie. She's maturing faster than a helicopter. In that mess, she finds two hooches, housemates her life really needs. Barb, a smart, straightforward, truth-telling black woman, the kind of reminders every war book needs. And Ethel, a nurse, the older, kind-hearted colonel, is the spiritual mother figure to the group. Their friendship is the only thing that hasn't been shattered by the bombs. And of course, since this is a Kristin Hannah novel, there has to be a romance. Frankie falls for Dr. Jamie Callahan, a charming married surgeon, a classic trope. This relationship brings a brief, painful war romance where you love fast, live fast, because tomorrow there might be no one left. And then another romance with Rye, a photojournalist who helps her see the world outside the hospital. In short, Frankie has a year of working hard, loving hard, and trying not to cry in Vietnam. Part 2. Coming Home. America is broken. After completing her service, Frankie returned to America, ready to receive thanks and laurels. Instead, she received scorn. Her parents. "Where did you go?" "Vietnam." "Come on, tell everyone you went on vacation to Europe." "Really?" This is the save someone and get scolded parenting style. Strangers. "You little murderer. Why did you join that unjust war?" Male veterans. "Women didn't serve there." This was a blow worse than any wound she had ever seen in Vietnam. I mean, a young girl had to go through hell, face death every day to save soldiers, and then come home to be rejected by her family and ostracized by her country. Welcome to America in the 1970s, where even patriotism is politicized to the point of ridiculousness. Frankie spirals into PTSD, alcoholism, and self-destruction. She loses her job, her faith, and almost loses her mind. This is the darkest part of the book, where Hannah truly shows the horrors of war, not only on the battlefield, but in bringing it home. She struggles to gain a simple recognition. I was there. I am a veteran. Part 3. Seeking recognition and the memorial. After years of struggle, help from old friends, Barb and Ethel return as tough sisters, and a kind psychologist, Frankie begins the process of healing. American style, see a psychologist and face the problem. The story culminates when she becomes involved in the movement for recognition of female Vietnam veterans, specifically the construction of the Vietnam Women's Memorial in D.C. She finally stands before the wall, where her brother's name and many others are engraved, and she realizes that recognition doesn't just come from others, but also from herself. And of course, being Kristin Hannah, she has a touching tears and smiles reunion with her ex-lover Jamie, who it turns out has survived the false sense of death. Why not? Bringing the dead soldier back is an emotional gift Hannah has to give the reader. In the end, Frankie finds a peaceful life, her honor is restored, and the world has accepted that women were there. The book highlights the sacrifice and forgotten role of female soldiers, especially nurses, in the Vietnam War. Finally, a war book where a torn shirt is not a sign of a wounded soldier, but of a nurse working hard. This is a story where the heroine can save your life, and then she has to fight to be considered a citizen. How ridiculous. Frankie McGrath, protagonist, symbol of lost innocence, patriotism, and PTSD. She represents a generation of women who are starting to break boundaries. She is a Southern California girl. We know she has nerves of steel because she survived her parents' judgment. After seeing the guts of others, what breaks her is the disrespect she receives when she returns home. It's a level of rudeness that even war couldn't prepare her for. PTSD in post-war Hannah is a heartbreakingly honest portrayal of the devastation of PTSD, the stigma faced by veterans, male and female, and the lack of mental health support in that era. The best moment? When Frankie returns, everyone says, "Why don't you just forget it?" Yes, folks, that's 70s American mental health advice. Smile and don't mention the war. And then they wonder why Frankie has started drinking. Take her to yoga instead of therapy. Romance Frankie's complex and painful relationships with Jamie and Rye reflect the fleeting and intense nature of love in wartime and the complicated aftermath. Kristin Hannah makes sure that even when bombs are falling, you can still find a charming but married surgeon to melt your heart. This is not a war book. This is a bittersweet book about war. It's like, you just amputated someone, but okay, think about the handsome boy who kissed you. Historical setting, the novel offers a vivid and researched look at the Vietnam War from the nurse's perspective and the social divisions of America in the 60s and 70s. People complain about how terrible the war is, but did anyone talk about the lack of toiletries for nurses or having to share a room with someone you almost hate? That's the real horror. This book shows surviving the Vietnam War was just the beginning of the real war in America. The Women is more than just a book. It's a punch to the collective conscience of America. It forces us to confront the fact that we, Americans, used to be very good at sending young people to fight and then forgetting about them when they came back, especially those of a gender that wasn't desirable. Kristin Hannah does a great job of taking a heavy subject, the Vietnam War, PTSD, and turning it into a compelling, emotional, and, well, a little easy read. It's like eating a delicious burger, but with a spicy mustard coating underneath. If you're a Kristin Hannah fan, you'll cry. If you're a historian, you'll nod your head and maybe wince a little at the slightly Hollywoodized ending. If you're an average American, you'll learn something new and feel a little guilty about how our country treats its heroes. Plus, the friendship between Frankie, Barb, and Ethel is the best. It's the sisterhood in combat that Hollywood needs to make a movie about immediately, with a big budget and a cool 60s rock soundtrack. Minus, the romance is resolved too neatly at the end. Oh, Kristin Hannah. We're talking about PTSD and forgetting. She can't just solve everything with a dead man back and a big hug. That's the easy way out. Conclusion. The Women is a great book. It reminds us that, if you are a woman, being a hero is not just about saving people, but also about constantly shouting, "I am here. I was there. Recognize me." Thanks, Frankie, for doing that. Now I'm going to go buy some tissues and a book about girls who just worry about what to wear to prom. So much emotion. The video content is based on the book The Women, Kristin Hannah. The video aims to approach knowledge in a humorous way, not to attack any individual or organization.